Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Lens, where we speak with global leaders to discuss the latest trends in the industry, future-gazing ideas, awe-inspiring marketing strategies, and most importantly, aspects of business and marketing that we all need to be aware of in 2021. Today, we have a very special guest with us, which is Megha Tata, who is the Managing Director, South Asia for Discovery. Welcome, Megha. It's great to have you on the Leadership Lens.
Thank you, Shiny. Thank you for having me here.
Megha has held leadership positions at BTVI, HBO, Turner International, and Star TV. She either leads or is a member of multiple national and international industry forums, including being the president for the India chapter of the International Advertising Association. She's been bestowed with multiple industry accolades throughout her career. Megha has been instrumental in launching several marquee projects for the network, and I'm sure all of us remember Into the Wild with Grylls, the Akshay, Kumar, and the RajniKant episodes. So Megha, you've led some fantastic projects for Discovery. You've heightened the regional focus. You clearly seem to know the pulse of the Indian consumer very, very well. We've also seen that impact come up in revenue numbers and really good profit margins for 2020. So tell me, what is the impact of the pandemic that you have seen in terms of consumer behavior in general on your platform? What is the kind of content that's getting consumed? Is it changing?
Thanks, Shiny, for a shiny introduction about me. So I think, it's become a bit of a cliched statement or to say that it's been an unprecedented year. Yeah, and we've all known the impact of the last year when it started, and nobody really thought it's going to be pulled in for so long, right? We all thought it's 2 months, 3 months, and then it'll happen and we'll be back into some kind of a normalcy. But clearly, the virus had different plans for us. So when all of this was happening, and I think one of the things which we realized pretty early on that, and something which as a lot of industry heads did, that, you have to accept this reality and you have to work around this reality. And you can either sit back and, just whine about the issues and the problems to deal with, or look at finding solutions. And I think a fundamental glass half full approach for us was also that this, if there is a traditional television business is impacted, which anyway was getting impacted over a period of time, right? There is an opportunity to address some of the growing digital consumption which is happening, and that was a reality for all of us to see. Everyone, you have to be sort of living under a rock to have not seen the reality which was unfolding. So it was just as well that our launch of Discovery Plus early last year became just like a perfect time to bring that proposition forward. So while the television business was impacted and is something which we were seeing, not just fundamentally, and then of course the lockdown only heightened that issue, Discovery Plus, on the other hand, became an opportunity for us. So that's how you sort of balance the equation. And it was just wonderful and overwhelming to see the kind of response we got from our consumers who loved our content. But Discovery Plus, in fact, the plus sort of adds to that proposition, is that there's so much more to that platform than what was being consumed in the digital, in the linear world. And, so that balancing of the equation is something we believe really worked out in our favor. And I'm glad that, Discovery Plus then became, in fact, India was the first market to launch in the Discovery ecosystem. And then it was launched in other markets like UK and US. And of course, there are multiple other countries lined up in the regions across the globe, actually, to be launched. But I think for India, really, it was a proposition which got loved by our consumers. And, it's like it was a very competitive and a very cluttered market on OTT when we launched, but all of them were giving the similar kind of content. They were all fighting the fiction war. They were all fighting the GEC kind of content war, right? And here came Discovery Plus with a differentiated offering. And I think that's probably what has helped us, connect with our consumers. So I always say, ours is a very complementary product. It can be it doesn't have to be either or, it's an and product. You can still get your fix of fiction, and when you want the best of real life entertainment, this is our product is sort of fits that bill really well. So I think that's really broadly how it played out from early last year.
So clearly the plus channel from the Discovery bouquet for all of us. So tell me, Megha, given the multiple channels that you have, both on digital, connected television, linear TV, what are the key opportunities that you are currently focusing on?
So I think our focus continues and will be Discovery Plus's growth. Okay, that's really, we know that that's where the audiences have moved, are moving. But at the same time, the reality is that you have to make a sustainable business proposition in an organization or in a country. And the reality in India for sure is that television is not dead. Television, and it won't be dead for a while. There is still room for growth, even if it sounds strange, but there is room for growth in the linear world and a room for growth in the digital world. So India is one of the few countries, I would say, in the world who is precariously positioned to grow both these verticals. And for us as well, television is a very integral part of our business. That's where the money is coming from, right? So and that is what is helping fund the digital business as well. So how do you balance these two is our challenge and I guess a lot of other companies challenge as well. But that's how we need to. So we need to grow our Discovery Plus. That's priority. We need to drive that our product and our consumer satisfaction goals. And at the same time, we have to find a sort of a healthy balance to keep our television business intact and grow as well.
So we've seen the trend of subscription video picking up. We've seen OTTs gain focus. What's the impact of this on business and on, say, content creation? Is there a digital first approach that you now follow?
Yeah, I think, we are actually fortunate to have, and that's been the beautiful part of Discovery's ecosystem, is the rich library we have. We've had like about 300,000 hours of content across, our globe. And not all of that content has seen the light of the day in India, frankly. So technically, there's a lot of content which yet needs to be sort of showcased in this part of the world. So I think that's one opportunity to create that digital first content for sure, because then that's really purely not even digital first, I would say digital exclusive content, because that's where you'll see some content which may not have the right platform in the linear world, which is why I think, and that's the beautiful part of having so many content possibilities in a larger global ecosystem. So that's one part. Similarly, we're also investing, for the first time ever in the history of, I think, Discovery in India, we're investing so much on original content out of India. We've done it in bits and pieces, but not to that extent like this year, from last year onwards, basically. And that is going to be our focus as well, to create the best in class in content originating out of India. And not only just look at creating that content which runs on our platforms, but across our global ecosystem as well. So I think that is how we need to balance what goes on. So there will be digital exclusives, there will be digital first, followed on linear, and some are first on linear and then on D+. So I think it's an amazing space to be in. Like, you have so many permutation combinations to play with, right? And to me, that's not an issue. I think it's it's an opportunity to create an ecosystem within your own organization and for the consumer, that you can play around on how to, balance the content needs in both the verticals. So that's how I believe, and that's really the opportunity, I think.
So that's the opportunity ahead. A lot of international content, a lot of original content that we get to see on the OTT platform first. Megha, you said OTT is a big priority for you, and I'd like to understand, how are you planning to grow this? You've already, said a few things that you guys are doing. So how are you planning to grow this in the future for Discovery?
I think at the end of the day, the harsh reality from time immemorial, since television also came into this world, is that content is king. Okay, content has been the center of everything, right? If you don't have content which connects and relates to your audience, then however best your technology be, however best your platform be, however best your marketing strategies will be, you will not be able to make that sort of connect with your consumer. So for us as well, and we, in the heart of what Discovery stands for is creation of content. That's what our DNA is, and we've always created the best in class content across different markets. So for us, I think content becomes an integral proposition, Shiny, and I think, and how do you play around with different genres of content is where the excitement and opportunity is, and that's where our focus is, and we're learning every day. And I think that is, and that to me, in fact, this is the best time to explore different kind of genres, because you have data to support it, right? Today we are fortunate enough to have the analytics part of the ecosystem support you to create the creative part of the ecosystem, right? So it is almost like art and science existing together, and both need each other, right? So I think that's the opportunity for us, and we are looking at different creation of different genres and adding more content which sort of appeals and connects and relates to our audiences.
So keeping content at the real core of the business and moving from there. Fantastic, Megha. So you've kind of renewed, moving on from there, you've renewed the focus on regional content. And there is a very keen focus on, say, difficult markets like Tamil Nadu with, say, D-Tamil. I saw that you've gone the extra mile there, and, with both content and branding, even with the colors that you used. Will capturing regional markets be a key agenda for you? And how are you planning to go about doing this?
Yes, Shiny, I think, Tamil market has been a very interesting sort of play for us as well. It has a different proposition, like a D-Tamil is very different to Discovery in Tamil in that market. So there's two different propositions, and D-Tamil is appealing to the curation of the content is keeping the Tamil audiences likes and dislikes for that kind of content in mind. But it is only when we recently sort of refreshed our product, from the look and feel of it. You're right, the colors were very vibrant, which connects with that market. We got great feedback. And we're looking at creating some more content, whether it's through acquisition on original productions, on content in the local market, and in the local language, which connects with our audiences. And I think that's a fundamental focus, let me put it this way, we are putting on D-Tamil, and we did get some great response after the refresh as well, and hopefully we will continue to get that support from our audiences in that market.
Absolutely, I don't doubt that at all. But tell me, what's been the response to Discovery Plus from, say, tier 2 and tier 3 markets? How have they responded to an OTT side of the Discovery business?
Actually, fantastic. We were pleasantly surprised ourselves. In the heart of heart, we thought we will appeal to a larger part of the country as well. But, there's always a sense of like anxious doubt whether it won't work. And we would really appreciate the kind of response we're getting out of tier 2, 3 markets in India. Lots of our content is getting consumed. Our focus, we do have a lot of languaging. We do have Hindi and Tamil and Bengali, and that content also available on our Discovery Plus, and that is something which connects very well with certain local content focus we have across in these markets as well. So we've got some great response. In fact, clearly there is an audience who's appreciating Discovery Plus across the country.
Absolutely, and hats off to your content first strategy there. Let's come to advertising for a little bit. And the biggest news in advertising today is the cookieless world, and what to do without first party data ownership. And I think that's one of the best parts about being a publisher today, is that you have first party data that you can always work with. So tell me, Megha, what are the ways in which you're using this first party data to help advertisers on your platform?
So Shiny, I think our advertising is, the way we are putting forth Discovery Plus is more about content creation proposition than hardcore data-led proposition. So I think our intent, we do want to bring in a relationship. It's like how Discovery did it in the linear world as well. We were competing with big players who had big ratings, right? And when you do a rating to rating comparison, it doesn't, like Discovery by that logic shouldn't have survived more than a year in this country, right? But it survived 25 long years, and it will continue to be there for the next 25 at least. All I'm saying is that the way we approached the proposition was not really about data only. It's about how you connect. We're content creators. Like, how do we create a brand proposition for you, or sort of create content which enhances your brand proposition, is the approach we bring to our advertisers as well on our platform. So, creating content, like we did recently a show with Titan, I think it was with which was called Bharat Ke Mahavir, and it's just how you integrate that proposition for your brand is how we are sort of working on that. So, and we do have the advantage of working both linear and digital together. So when you're bringing a client on board, then you're discussing both the TV and the digital option. So this is, I would say, a slow growth play for us right now, but it is moving in the right direction. I think that's something will probably evolve in the coming year.
So focus on content more than data here for brands. Great, Megha. So with the growth of the OTT space, and we've clearly seen this with Discovery and multiple other channels, do you see people flocking back to theaters once it's safe? Do you think this growth in the OTT space is sticky enough that, is sticky so that people won't go back to old routines, or will that still happen?
My personal view, completely, absolutely yes. I just think that this is a phase for obvious reasons. There is so much more to watching a movie in theater than just the movie itself. Yeah, it's the whole experience. Yeah, it is about connecting with your family, and and just being able to do so many things. It's like I said, it's an experience. Movie watching across the globe, I would say, not just India, is about the experience. So while I think content can still find its way on platforms like, whatever the digital platforms, the experience is something you cannot take away from when you're going into a theater. So I hope, for my own sake, from an experience point of view, and the total industry's sake, I think the movie industry definitely needs to have those theaters back in action, because the industry needs that to keep that content creation and that whole ecosystem functioning. Otherwise, it's not really it won't play out in the manner everybody thinks. So I do hope that the theaters go back into full glory soon. Once, of course, the lockdown restrictions and the ability to make that happen, the government, as per government regulation, we are able to drive that. but I hope really it does open up, because somehow I feel that is, you can't, it's like apples and oranges. You can't compare the two.
Absolutely. So there are some things that we've grown up with and which are, not going to be easy to give up on, even though we've learned newer ways of doing it on OTTs and multiple other things. But we'd love to go back to the cinema once in a while. So Megha, fantastic, conversation. Last question for you. The last year and a half has been a tough one, world round. How has it been for you as a business leader, both on the revenue front and on the people management front?
Yeah, it's so, this has been the toughest when it comes to people, frankly. There is no other, I don't know what emotion I can attach. I think all emotions have gone into that part of, through this experience. It's just, words cannot explain, and how people have got impacted and how it has sort of affected their lives or changed their lives forever. I think one of the things which we continue to believe in, and especially in discovery, that for us, people are the center of our organization, and that's the DNA of this company. In fact, our HR department is not even called HR; it's called People and Culture. That's discovery. People is the culture. So I think from a discovery's point of view, I think we've it's been a privilege to work in an organization who's really gone out of the way to support the people and their employees and their families in these times of needs in multiple ways. I mean, we'll need a separate session if I was to talk about what our leadership and all of us have done for our employees. So it's been overwhelming, and I think that's something I personally appreciate as a leader myself, and I think my team as well has appreciated across the country on the things we have done in the organization. But I think the fundamental thing which we have, and I think everyone should have, the fundamental emotion, if I was to identify, if you had to bring into this situation, is compassion, is empathy, it's sensitivity, right? I would say these three things is all what was needed. Frankly, it's so simple yet so complicated to execute for every organizational leader to bring to the mix. I know of so many organizations who've done some amazing work because the leadership believed in that three simple truths. And those who did not, it just beats me. How can you be so hardened in life? At the end of the day, you're a human being, and so just being human is all what you had to do. But unfortunately, not every organization, I guess, played that out. But I think that's been our focus as well, to bring compassion, empathy. In fact, as the president of the India chapter of IAA, International Advertising Association, we created a campaign which exactly spoke about that. It was called World Needs a Breather campaign. And that was just talking exactly about this, like, give your people empathy, compassion, and be sensitive to them. And in fact, that campaign got a great feedback and great support from other industry organizations, whether it's ISA or with the Ad Club or ASCII. They all supported us, and we got lots of people partnering with us to support us. So I think, including our global body, actually, global body supported in different chapters across the world. So I think, and the reason why it connected, because rarely do you have multiple industry bodies coming around doing, being aligning on one agenda. The reason it connected, because this was simple. This was all about being compassionate, being about sensitive, being about empathetic to your people. And that's why I think these are the few things I would urge every organization to follow, and you'll be in a much happier space.
I know this is the time an organization actually stands up for its people. So Megha, from the conversation that we've had, I know that you have your consumers, your content, and your people. absolutely front and center at Discovery, the absolute bedrock of the organization, which I think is fantastic in terms of strategy, in terms of growth momentum. And this is the time where we would like to see more organizations like yours coming forth. Thank you, Megha. This has been a wonderful conversation and such an eye-opening one. Thank you so much for being part of Leadership Lens.
Thank you so much, Shiny, for bringing in, and it was lovely talking to you. Thank you.